I got interrupted in the first live I was doing, basically the unboxing on this reel, and I've had time. I did some more checking into it and seeing about stuff. A couple questions you guys had about the new Steez SVTW boost. So after I'd looked at this briefly up at Rogers Sporting Goods, and then I got one, and after like having it here, just checking, kind of physically looking, but then kind of checking some of the sizes and stuff to the Zillion and how it's made. If you missed the first video, in my opinion, this is definitely more Zillion-like because it does have like a top plate that isn't metal, just like the Zillion, that where I don't know if they did it intentionally so it won't feel as cold if you're palming the reel. The side profiles are more how the frames are designed. The shape is more like a Zillion than a Steez, in my opinion. The only thing, as they changed on the top hood, the shape here, I mean, if they would have put a little groove in there, this thing would look more like a Zillion than it does the Steez. This part here, because it's got that top piece that's carbon or plastic or whatever, it's kind of wider than what the Steez is. That's actually still part of the frame. So it narrows up right there, kind of thing. And it's an overall smaller reel than both of these by a little bit. So I was going to try to see if I can show you that. But before I go into the whole size thing, the zero adjuster, because up until this reel anyway, there may be another one I haven't owned that you couldn't, but even though it said zero adjuster, you could still adjust it like I talked about in the first video. I'd come in here and turn it, and it made I could get it to make a difference. Now, it doesn't with these, and there's no way to add an adjuster. So this is just a cap. Now, this cap, other caps will fit it, but you can't enable this to have anything that will be able to adjust that side tension. So I'm going to show you guys why. I'll take off this cap. So it still comes off basically the same way. It's just harder to get to. But you still need to take this off if there's a bearing in here basically that you would, is why I guess they left this instead of servicing it from. So you technically could switch this bearing out inside, but I'm going to show you why you can't do anything with it, because somebody had asked. So there's nothing inside there that would help to push that. But even if, like, say you were to try to add the little thing, and why couldn't you do it kind of deal? Because when I push this, you see how that pops up? That is not what we're used to seeing or having in these. Normally, there is literally nothing in there. There's a plastic, I probably should have looked ahead, but there's like a plastic little pin basically that slides through there that touches on the, comes from this part of the spool out, and this does not have any of that. So it's probably a solid gear. So when you push this out, it moves the gear away from the other gear, and here is how you get it able to free spin. It basically lifts that gear off of the pin in here and lets us free spool. So with that coming out like that, I can see that there would be no way, as far as I can tell, to where you could add any sort of zero adjustment. So however, the tolerances, I guess, are made enough. So I would foresee that if anybody makes a spool for this, or any spool you go to switch, the tolerance are going to have to be basically perfect to where you won't have any wobble, and you just have to deal with, if you're like me and you like the idea of slightly setting that tension. I don't like that. This part about this reel, I can already tell you, I don't think I will like. But oh, I guess I should have showed you that this does screw on, same thread. It only goes on just not a lot of threads, but it still clears the drag star. So technically, like even this one right here, a little fancier one. If you wanted to spiffy it up a little bit, you could put another cap on, because that cap really doesn't do anything. It's just there to keep a cover that then you could access that bearing as you saw in there, kind of thing, or sleeve or whatever. I think it's a bearing. So, some of you guys are no issues with that whatsoever. For me, honestly, that's a strike one on this reel for me. Two, and I'm pretty sure the one up at Rogers felt better. I'm thinking that this is just due to being brand new, and I don't know if you can make out how much grease is on the worm drive gear. I mean, it's definitely greased up good. So it's definitely got feels very good, but it doesn't, honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't feel, to me, quite as smooth as, and these are just, I'd call them just ran enough to where they're free. Like these are so free filling, real tight. Everything's tight on them, but it's like free. I mean, I got line, but that's just braid. It's not like there's a ton of weight there to like make it spin faster. And this thing, like I try, and it just it doesn't. Not I wanted to say bound up. It doesn't feel bound up, but it feels like there is some, and it's probably just the grease in the gears. But that part, so far, doesn't impress me. But like I said, all of these reels I've got right here. Now this one's brand new. Whoa, I keep getting my hand stuck on it. It's got a longer handle. That longer handle will make it spin, or a little heavier. That may be part of it too. Like, it doesn't feel any better than that Lose reel did. Of course, that's a $500 reel too, if you were to buy it new. But I'm anxious to get it out, lined up. I'll probably get, probably put 20 pound on it, because I either have 20, I think I still have some 10 laying around, but 10's probably not enough. This would be like a 12 to 14 pound line reel. But, you know me, I'll probably put 20 pound braid and then a 15 pound leader, throw some chatterbaits with it, and then smaller stuff. But I'm anxious to get it lined up and see what it does, see if I like it. I'm kind of glad now. I was going to trade Brew Tank, or I was going to sell one of my limited Steezes, but I don't see like for the just average fishing this an upgrade over this reel. I see this as an upgrade for the more finesse type situations, maybe. And technically, there's still, like right now, you can still get the shallow spool one on AliExpress. You can't get on AliExpress. Actually, you can. You can buy almost everything on AliExpress now, but a lot of stuff's even higher than what you could get it regularly. So anyway, this reel, I still, as of right now I get out on the water, get out casting and testing. This may surprise me differently, but I don't know yet. I think I have not actually went and fished a CT reel, but I think I like it better than the CT Steez. But I don't think I'm gonna, I don't know. It's gonna have to do a lot for me to like it over these reels right here. These are awesome reels. They don't do anything any better than this reel does. So what it's got me thinking is that I need to order one of the Tatulas now with the boost spool, and then upgrade maybe a couple, add whatever bearings it needs. Basically, you can get it cheap enough that you could upgrade some of the stuff and get it up to around $200 reel, and it should be close to this. These are heavier, that's for sure. Like I feel that reel, and this is a very little lightweight thing compared to it. So I don't know, right off the bat, I think it just needs to be broken. Like I think what I'm feeling right here, because I didn't get a long time to mess with it, but the one up at Rogers Sporting Goods just had a way freer feel than this. I'm guessing it's just way that one's probably been handled who knows how many times, and this one probably just needs to be, used a little bit to get freed up. That's one thing about Shimano's and Daiwa was when you a lot of times when you get them new and you pull them out, they will be so bound up. A lot of guys tear them right apart right off the bat, clean them, and then I could do the I like the Lucas oil stuff. Got the oil, and then oh no, that's I also have this, but that's not for the reel. Don't get them mixed up. And then the Daiwa stuff, the grease is kind of what I had been using. And in my opinion, it doesn't take a ton either. Just, keep them slicked down. So let's do a few measurements just in case you guys are curious that have not seen, you're still interested in this reel, which, I mean, let's do some measurements and I'm going to talk about the finishes and all that kind of stuff. But right off the bat, I thought this reel, like looking at it like this, I thought it was a lot smaller than this reel. Like looking at it, but I'm going to show you something. Sometimes you just have to take a measurement. Even though this is a very cheap and not a real accurate thing, and it keeps reading. Let me zero it back out. Okay. So I'm not really worried about what that reads. I'm just going to measure this thing, and I'm going to go from the side. You can see the side where it's kind of flat. I'm just going to push it to where it nudges up against that. 65.8 is what it's reading here. That's where your gears, from here on. Now the handle assembly and all that could be slightly different than here. I might take that measurement. But I want you to look at that. From there, from right at that point, the Zillion is actually narrower than that reel. But when it comes to this way, I'll get to measure the Zillion first. Now I'm going off the back of to be in the center of the front, I'm just going off the back of the thumb bar. I think it's almost identical, close to identical dimensions. So anyway, we're going to go with that. 72.1, I kind of slide it, make sure it fits. So then this reel, is definitely shorter from front to back. And then I'm going to go from here to the top where your thumb would set, because sometimes this can be deceiving. But I'm going to get where your thumb would set to the bottom of the reel seat kind of thing. We're going to get that measurement. You guys can make that out. It's showing 40 roughly, and this is just it's not a 100% precise, but like 40.6, and the tool is hard because your thumb actually sets down in that area. So that is actually higher, but where your thumb actually sets is very close. It's very close. I think this is going to feel more comfortable because you're down in a groove, but this is at the same height or slightly lower, and then I will try to get it close. I can't really tell. They're very close right here. I guess I could measure. It'd be hard to measure that because there's something. I think that is like almost identical. So other than the fact that it is, hang on, I'm trying to hold the sides. And they also, if you see, they kind of cheated this. They sloped it out to kind of start to hide the zero adjuster thing to where this one stays in further. But this does look like it's got this fat look this way, which is probably actually not a bad thing because this actually does palm as good or probably better than this reel. It definitely palms probably better than all these reels I have, except for maybe the Elite as far as the thumb part goes. But then this part on the Elite suffers. So let's compare it to this Steez real quick. Same kind of measurements. I'll try to get close to like I did on the Zillion. I don't remember the numbers, so we'll just start over. But basically the outside of the housing where the gear is and the side of the thing, it is just a little bit, it's actually a little bit narrower than the where the Steez is going to fit, and probably what you'll feel hanging off to the side. Probably not enough to really even tell by holding it in your hand. Front to back, I think this might be a little bit different and off, but like 71.2. Yeah, way different here. 71.2, and this comes all the way out to like 73, so another millimeter. So yeah, I thought I had a scuff there. So it is definitely kind of a smaller than both of these, other than the Zillion just is kind of narrowed up right through here, which I don't know if that actually helps at all when you're palming it. One last thing I want to check on the because this thing is pretty low. The front of the Steez. It's hard to tell where you would want to start. Somewhere right there. So yeah, it's definitely like a millimeter or so lower on the where your thumb, how you're gonna set on it. I'll try to hold these up. Can make it out. Yeah, so I think like right in here is close to this. Well, I don't know. This is so short, it looks like it sets up higher, but I think that's just deceiving. They're all very close. But in person and feeling it, you can tell it's just kind of a smaller, other than this way, it's roughly, it's like right there. I still can't tell. I want to say that's an actual aluminum drag star, but I can't tell for sure. This is definitely plastic that's painted. You can tell on the limited. I think this is actually it looks and feels aluminum, but I can't tell 100% for sure. But if I had to call it and guess, I would guess that it's an actual metal drag star. But it's got all the clickies other than that. Brake adjustment is definitely harder. It's not bad though, like it's just a little bit harder to get to than what that thing likes it on 3. And what the Zillion is, but it's definitely Zillion like. You know, it like if you just handed this reel to somebody without any markings on it and said, here's the new, oh, that's the new what? Is it the new Zillion or the new Steez? You'd probably, other than looking at them like right here, that shape of the hood, that shape of the hood is the only thing that makes it look like this reel. This reel, that's part of the frame. This is a piece of plastic that could have easily been shaped and looked like that, and you would 100% thought that they had made a magnesium version of the Zillion, because every other way you look at it, from how the front, and they've got that nut going from the inside towards the out, the way that is shaped, like I mentioned in earlier, the way this widens up and comes down right through there. This is totally different than any other reel, the way they've just moved that way out. You can tell how it, so when you're looking at that straight, you can just see how it flares out to come out further, since you don't need to be able to get in there to adjust that tensioner. But then the back, that thumb bar looks almost identical. It's definitely different. This is a, you know, and then it's got the 32 millimeter as opposed to both of these having the 34. So yeah, it's definitely a new reel, completely, frame and all, but based off this technology, in my opinion, not necessarily this technology. Other than they all have the hyperdrive, the boost spools. This is magnesium, but then they've also redone, that's a way smaller T-wing, and in my opinion, it can't be, they claim it is, but it can't be as good as the bigger. Like when you get smaller and you narrow up where the line's going to go, of course, if that's a narrower area, it doesn't have to be. So yeah. Oh, you guys comment what you think. I can't say I'm disappointed. Hello, Mark. Mark says, any thoughts on the alphas with the SV boost spool? And he said, I'm sorry, it's a Tatula. Yeah, I've mentioned it a few times now, and I think I'm going to get one, because there's two ways now. There's actually a very cheap way to get a boost. If you want a Daiwa with a boost spool, there's actually a very cheap way if you already own any Daiwas. Like in the last video, I slapped it in this reel. Or no, I put a boost spool in this reel, but they have, and it's in one of these reels somewhere. For those of you that don't follow the channel, you can go on AliExpress and buy an SV boost spool. The downside, and I'll show you, I'll take it out of this one. Yeah, this is the one with it. It's really, you probably want to use braid, because you could probably put enough 10-pound line on to get the job done. But so this, here's the spool that came out of that reel, the Steez Limited Cello spool right there. So you can get roughly, because I went out and I did a little cast testing. This is the one, high 10 off AliExpress for $35. And it does have a dual stage spring thing in it, which is the boost part. And it does seem like it's casting just as well as my other boost spool. So the initial, me just out, you know, kind of setting it and casting as hard as I could, and if you remember right, it kind of needs to be turned up more, because the brakes, the way they are, you need the magnet thing adjusted a little higher than you do with the standard one, which is perfectly fine, because somewhere between 3 and 6 is where all these end up being for me with braid. With the regular line, you're probably going to even want to go a little higher. It tends to make the spools heavier. But if you already own a Daiwa reel capable of taking the 34 millimeter spools, you can pick up that high 10 and have a boosted Daiwa reel. But the only other way, and maybe if you don't own a Daiwa reel, by the time you bought whatever reel that would hold the $35 spool, you still might have 200 and something or whatever. That Tatula, the new 100, not the 150, does come with a boost spool. Now, it's the long shaft. I want to say it's probably 34 millimeters, but it's got the shaft that comes all the way out like what a Shimano does. I have not got to cast any of those, but handling the one up at Rogers Sporting Goods, it's going to probably be not far from what the Zillion is. So it's going to be roughly the same weight, maybe a touch heavier. But if anything, I'd say it almost palms better or as good as what the Zillion does on the shape, because the new one, this part is like it's slanted real far, and then it's also got a big, it looks kind of funky when you first look at it, but it's definitely a good groove for your thumb to set, and it palms very good, looks very good, and with the boost spool, doesn't have the click and drag. Some of you guys don't even care about that, don't like that, but I love that, so I'd have to add that. Now, you can get those Rogers Sporting Goods everywhere. They're about $220. AliExpress, as of right now anyway, also carries that new reel, and it's like $161. So if it already came with a metal star drag and a clicker, I'd probably just buy one. I probably would have already bought one and had it here. We've been looking at it. But since it doesn't, and I would want to add a different, because it's just got a funky star drag that actually looks very cheap. The handle assembly is probably not bad, but I would probably change the knobs just like I'm going to do on this reel. But by the time you got a drag clicker, about $15 on AliExpress, 5 to 10 to 15 for a star, and then whatever handle thing, you could still be in it for maybe under 200 bucks, right at $200. But here's the thing, you can go on Digitaka and buy this reel for $225. So it'd be one of those, like if you're a Tatula fan, then it's not a big deal. But I'm really, I'll be honest, I'm not really a Tatula fan. I've tried them all, and I always end up getting them and then selling them. I've sold a lot of Tatulas to a lot of different people. They're good reels. They're awesome reels, but they're just not, like this reel has stood out. When it came out and I got one, I'm like, this is it, guys. This is, because through Digitaka from another Japan tackle, one of those sites where the yen right now and the dollar is so far skewed that you can pick it up for $225. That is an awesome reel. Now, I've already added, there's another $35 for those two parts. 15 or so, then the knobs another probably 12 or 15 bucks. So I've got more than that in it now, but that regular spool just spooled up all around halfway with braid. Man, this thing will cast lightweight. I was out there, did a little BFS shootout. It's not a BFS reel, but I can throw, if I needed to, a shaky head on it, a 16th ounce head with some sort of substance of a plastic, or 1/8 ounce with worms or whatever. You can cast these. So this reel will definitely be able to do that kind of stuff, and these also, these shallow spooled ones are definitely capable of everything but the smallest of like little creek and stream, trout and creek and stream, very little bait fishing, but where the true BFS reels really shine. But all the way from down there, even up, because I've run this 20-pound braid, then I can go throw 1/2 and 3/4 ounce rattle traps, 1/2 ounce chatterbaits with big trailers and whatever. No issues. I fished them all, so that part's good. So yeah, sorry, Brew Tank. I think I'm keeping all of my limiteds I don't know. I still may at some point get rid of one, but they still sell them as of right now. But at some point, I don't know if they'll ever be worth more money, but these are probably going to be hard to get. And I'll be honest, unless this one does something different for me, as of right now, I think this is still the ultimate Steez to have, these limiteds right here. If I can keep the finish, if as long as it doesn't, now if I drop it or bang it right up against something, it gets a scratch. But just from my normal use, as long as it keeps going like they are and the finish holds, I don't think they're going to be able to beat this reel. And what I looked at when I went to Platt, Platt has a video out now showing the CT with this finish on it, the CT limited. And it looks like this exact finish is on the CT, if you guys like those. I don't know when and how you're going to be able to get one, but if you like the smaller this size and a touch smaller, which the CTs are even a little bit smaller than this. But I may fall in love with this. I'm going to put it on my blade. I've already, that was the original plan. I'm still going to stick with that plan. I'm going to put 20-pound braid on it, probably a 15-pound leader. It'll hold plenty enough 20-pound braid and a 15-pound 6-foot leader. Get out and throw, the stuff I would on the blade, the chatterbaits, the probably 1.5 square bills, very light jigs, that kind of, just a lot of all-around stuff in that medium to the right on the verge of medium heavy is where I would call that. Well, I'd probably call it a medium heavy, the blade. Now the Super Destroyer, I'm kind of up in there. I'm debating on putting this on it, actually, the Elite TI. Now see, when I just grab this reel, it feels way colder. But I think this reel also, if you guys can look up there, I'd almost swear this reel has a top plate that is plastic too. But I think, and like I've said before, a lot of these finishes they get cold too. Like the paint and the finishes can also just, once you're out in the weather and you're fishing and you don't really have anywhere other than sticking your hands in your pockets to warm them up, and the metal gets cold, but then some of this paint does over the thing. Like back when I had the Dark Wolf Ultra, which is kind of an unfinished reel, it's just like the carbon is almost a bare. That reel had no coldness to it. Like it was, as soon as you grabbed hold of it, it was like roughly the same temperature whatever your hand was. It wasn't like that cold would then be put into your hand kind of thing. All these reels, the way I palm anyway, I grab all the way around. My fingers always end up touching right over here and always get cold real quick. So I usually end up with gloves, and I have the gloves on with just this part of the thumb cut out to where I can thumb the spool when I cast, and then that kind of way. I hate fishing with gloves on, but I'm like Joe Montana when it comes to cold weather. I'm just worthless once it gets cold, like old Joe. So, any other questions? I think I've wrapped up about as much as other until I get out. Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't wrap up everything. So, I was talking about the finish, but I didn't really get into let me put this back together before I do something. And if you haven't watched it, go back and watch the first video. I actually took the side plates and we're sticking them on the other ones to see that none of them will fit, but that's definitely like a smaller side plate that will fit just inside these frames, but these and the Zillion and the Steez won't fit inside the new Steez kind of thing. So this definitely, that's another way I could tell it's like a little smaller designed reel, more finesse. I'm guessing here's what I think. I think what you're going to see, I don't think they'll have another, they might, but I doubt it. I think this is basically going to take the place of the CT Steezes. I don't think you'll see a, magnesium Steez and a magnesium Steez CT. I think this will be the Steez for, the finesse guys. I don't have one, but this HLC, basically the Steez A2 100, whatever they're calling it now, the aluminum version of the Steez that stayed that same size, I think will still be the one. That's the one like you get to be the workhorse. So this reel, That shape of magnesium you won't be able to get. I'm almost positive, in my opinion, that the CT, once that limited makes it run like these, once these limiteds are done, they'll be done from this, this magnesium frame will be retired. I think it's just my opinion on it. I think the Steez CT will be retired. It'll be this one probably going forward. And then what they may possibly do is revamp the Zillion, is what I'd look for them to do. But if the Steez A, if this frame just keeps selling reels, they probably won't change anything until sales get to the point where they feel they need to change it. Some because it's already got the hyperdrive. It's got all the newer technology in the older frame, and aluminum, more durable in some guys' mind anyway. A little, well, like this one. Look, a 36 millimeter spool. I don't know how long they'll keep making the HLC, but I'm like using it as a swim bait reel with that's 30-pound braid. I think that 36 millimeter spool. So I think you'll have this reel, and then the older frame that is aluminum, and that, but that's just, it could just be me. And then the Zillion, I don't know what I guess they'll just keep this until it, sales go some which way south and they have to change something. But you never know about these. I can usually, though, tell the minute they put a limited out, that means that frame, once that limited run is done, whatever that may mean or be, that it's usually that technology, that frame, that's a done kind of thing. As far as, so that's why I think the magnesium, once they came out with this one, there's no way they're going to do this in magnesium again. I wouldn't think. So this will be the new one replacing these, and the CT that's coming out now in the limited, which means I think that one's gone. I don't think they'll, unless they planned on making something even smaller than the CT. I don't see it. I think why they made this one the way they did is so it can fill that gap of both reels. Because I honestly can't see you having a point for this reel, because they could come out with this. Honestly, as small as it is, they could come out with and I'm sure they will, some sort of BFS version in this frame also. They'll probably go over real well. And I'm sure they probably even put a smaller spool in it. Go to a 30 or something BFS spool at some point. Who knows? Who knows? I can't tell. I know I was going to get another, and if you guys remember right, we had that last guy from Germany, and the other live stream kept commenting about how the AliExpress reels are just as good as these, and I'm like, dude, no. I like AliExpress and all. Some of their reels are pretty good, but don't try to compare them to any Daiwa, really, but don't compare them to a Steez, that's for sure. Like, you got to get one in your hands and just get the feel of it out on the water, the ease of fishing, and all that kind of stuff. That's just like this reel. This reel, and I think I even did a test on it. We'd like what little slightest amount of force it takes to turn this handle. These Calcutta Conquests are like the smoothest butter, not even butter, like greased butter, like liquid hot greased butter smooth. There's no resistance. Very awesome. So I usually try to compare. I'll be honest, this reel right here feels good. If you guys don't know about the Elite TI, the only thing is, you guys see that wiggle in the side plate? That's not, like, I felt that. I was out there kind of trying to mess with the drag, and I could feel that, like when I pulled and tugged, I felt something slip moving. I don't think it'll hurt anything. I'm going to go out and fish it, but I felt that, and then when I wiggled it, I'm like, ugh. And then so I said, when I went up to Rogers again, I bought the last one they had. It was like 300 and something or whatever instead of 500. But they have the purple one and then the silver ones. I said, let me see that purple one. And I got the purple one, and guess what? It got a little wiggle too. So I was looking at it, and the way it's made, there's really no way to tighten it up. There's these little you know, those little three or four plastic deals that when you turn this, they slide and they lock into these things. So it's not going anywhere. You know, when you push that up, but the tolerances when they made this reel, that's just one of those things you can tell the difference between Lew's, Abu Garcia, and then when you get into Daiwa and Shimano. There's still nobody. Now, they say that baits are pretty good and all that kind of stuff. 13 Fishing, some guys say, but I've had the original 13 Fishings were probably the best, and the first gen or two. And I mean, they're good, awesome reels, don't get me wrong, but they're still not. They're not on this same level as your higher end Shimano's and Daiwas. What else do I need to talk about? Oh, before I get out, let's talk about finishes on these reels. So this reel sucks. The Zillion, if that Tatula finish outlasts this and you could add a little bit of money to it, you're going to be about the same weight. If it's anywhere close, like the one I felt up at Rogers, of course, that one hadn't been out long. He pulled it brand new out of the box, so it didn't feel quite as, you know, definitely wasn't a broke-in reel. But it felt good. And if that finish outlasts a Zillion, that'll be worth something right there in itself, because this finish on Zillions that's the only flaw in this reel. They have made an awesome reel in the Zillion. I can't really see them other than, you know, if this ever comes out in the limited that's got a finish like that, I'll probably get another one. They do have the Salamandura one, but it's kind of a darkish maroon, and it's got kind of a metal flake to it. And I've debated about getting one of those, but they're $300, so they're like going to be $75 more than this reel. But they do have a gold T-wing, and I think that's about it that would impress me. That I kind of like the idea of the color, the metal flake color, gold T-wing, but really for that much more money, there's not anything more there to that one than this one. The finish on this is still the best I've seen because it looks good. It doesn't fingerprint up. It doesn't get as nasty looking right off the bat. This reel looks awesome. Probably the best looking reel I own until you grab it and start holding it, and all it takes for you to do is touch it, and it instantly just shows that like film of whatever. It's such like a mirror, right? It's just got that finish to it that looks awesome, but once you start grabbing it, you can instantly tell you've just dirtied the reel up. Which is, I mean, it's fine. I'm going to be fishing the reel, so it's not like it's a deal breaker. But I think in the future they probably ought to change something up a little bit, because let's talk about this one too. This one is also, it may be a little better. I'll try to, I don't know if I can get it to show up on camera, but it's got it too. But I'll be honest, every one of these, other than my Zillion, not the Zillion. Every one of these, this one so far, just in the little bit I've had it tonight out messing with it, every time I handle it, I feel like I need to grab this rag. I need to grab a microfiber cloth and re-wipe it off to get it to shine again, because it just instantly. And this one's definitely better. It's better than what this one is. I'll try to, here, let me give this one a little spit shine. This thing looks awesome when it's just, you know, setting down before you get it in your hands. It just looks very shiny, clean, but then all it takes, and I don't even call they're definitely not dirty, they're not oily or anything, but just you start touching it and it starts printing, and it just starts to not look as new and shiny as it did, just in a matter of like 15-20 seconds. So I can imagine once you get out fishing with it, I don't know what it's going to end up looking like. Colors look good, but so far that little wiggle in the side plate and then just the fingerprinting that happens with it is the only downside I've seen to that reel. Feels very smooth, casts very good. This one, if I guess, did I mention it in this video? Also had this one out casting, and like kind of the same area, the same bait. We were cast testing a lot of these different ones. Now this reel I had on the loose rod, and I was comparing it to the Steez with the destroyer rod, stuff like that. But this reel casts very good. I'm impressed with it. It's cast very good, easy, and then wasn't backlashing. And I could set it to where then I could also do little light pitches around, and nothing felt like it was, restricting my just soft cast also. And kind of like this spool, that AliExpress SV Boost spool. But this is a reel that just out using it, fishing it, doing whatever, you can look at it, and these are actually still dirty. I haven't totally cleaned them up from fishing for pretty much a season. And they just don't have that instant, fingerprint dirty look to them. I'm sure there's some there, but they've got enough of that metallic finish that it breaks it up, so you can't instantly tell once you've got that. And I was hoping this was like this, that metallic-y look, but it's not. That's more of that, the minute you start rubbing something on it, like. So I'm not overly impressed with the finish. I've heard, now don't hold me to this, I've heard these are bad about boat rash also, is what a couple guys up at Rogers said. Like right off the bat, he pulled out of the case and was showing it to me. He's like, they're kind of already got a little rap about being the finish not being that great. I said, well, it's got to be better than the Zillion. I said, the Zillion, you just look at it wrong and it rubs off. Because he's like, yeah, I know. And he said it before me. He goes, I've got one. Mine rubs off right where my thumb. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if you guys can make this out. That whole line right there is from me just, the way I palm, I've worn that paint off. And honestly, that should not have happened. I've fished this way more than these reels, but I've put some time on these reels, and there's not one spot where you could even see that HLC or any of these three limiteds have show any sign of any paint wear so far. Now, they could fall to pieces this coming season. I don't know. So if there's no other questions, thanks for watching. I'm going to get out of here because it's starting to get cold and I need to turn the heater on. You guys don't hear that thing blowing while I finish up down here. But look forward to see what I think once I actually get out here casting the new SVTW. I may fall in love with this thing. I may be like, dude, I'm going to sell all my other stuff and get all these. Who knows? I doubt it, but you never know. I do like the fact it's got the clicker. It's a little more, it definitely palms, feels good, looks good. The overall look is good. I mean, it looks good. I'm kind of bummed out about I can't get in there and do that. I know I can fish well enough. I don't have to have that set like that. I can just make my little adjustment here. I'll never have to worry about that. But I like that little security of, and this one I just don't like them totally freed up to where I could basically have an accidental backlash just by letting go of the bait in the boat kind of thing. So I usually run just that little bit, just a little. And I'll tell you guys real quick. I'd basically put that on into my rod to where 16th ounce crappie jig drops from the rod about 4 to 5 foot in the air. And when it hits the ground, the spool doesn't continue to just, roll out. Because if you know what I'm talking about, if these are set loose like a lot of people recommend and you're not paying attention, and it's not a huge deal with me with braid. I just have to kind of set and pull the braid back out. But I've seen it happen, and it's happened to me when I did run fluorocarbon or regular any kind of line copolymer fluorocarbon. You hit the button and you go to cast, and then your buddy's like, oh, hey, look at that. And you're like, stop, and you look, and then you're talking, and the next thing you know, you've taken your thumb or you move it far enough off that you didn't realize it let go of the spool, and your half-ounce bait goes off the side of the boat, hits the water. So about that 6 to 8 foot, spooled this baby up, and you got a backlash that if you're not careful, you're going to kink your fluorocarbon, and you just broke off, 25 foot of fluorocarbon being dumb to where just that little, whoa, look out, just that little bit to where it doesn't just totally let it free spool. Because what I do is if I kind of pay attention to how I can cast like this, right? Or not cast, how I'm reeling. So when my reel is free, that's what you want. So the worst thing you can do is if you tighten this too much, you can tell it's restricting even when you're reeling. You can overdo that. Like a lot of guys will tell you, put a bait on and set it to where this drops slow, and that's where you start. That is not good because you're going to feel that restriction not only in the cast, also in the cranking. So hopefully and it's fine to start bait casting like that. If you're horrible at bait casting, you always backlash, that it's fine to start there, but you should get to a point where you have just the slightest little touch. But if you can feel it, if you put this crappie jig on, so before you ever do any of that, it should be loose enough like they come out of the package. You tighten that up just enough to take away side play, and you want to feel how free it feels. And you could test yourself at any time. Make sure it feels free, and then when you barely set that where that crappie jig falls, you want to double check yourself. And if you think it's tightened to where you can feel that restriction, you probably went a little too tight. That's just I don't know. That's just way I've always looked and did fine tuning on my bait casters to make it easier for me out on the water. This reel, you don't have that option. They've totally, truly done away. They shouldn't even call it a zero adjuster because there's not an adjuster there. It's just a cap to give you access to the bearing that is still there in the way the frame is. So these spools have no. Let me get that open. Let's get that out. I guess you guys curious? I don't know if anybody knows what these weigh or not. I'm sure somebody's already weighed this spool, haven't they? I'm just going to weigh it with the bearing. I know it's going to be way lighter than what. So 11.1. I'm guessing that thing and that little washer thing, and there's even a spring in there, it looks like. Yeah, there's like another little washer and a spring. The rubber washer probably goes over a gram, so about a 10 gram, 10 or under spool. So I'm sure this thing, if you really wanted to, you could put and you probably wouldn't even need a lot. Take like a 10-pound braid and fill this spool halfway up, and you could probably BFS with this spool. There's way cheaper options than doing that, though. I would just suggest, whatever line you're going to use, fill it all the way up, and it's not going to have any issues casting very lightweight stuff. And we may do a little test, and I'll see what the lightest I feel comfortable throwing with it. But like I said, I'm probably going to put 20-pound braid on it. It should hold enough 20. I won't go. And it looks like they started to do this thing with the spools. They're starting to put lines on them to give you an idea if like we're halfway, we're three-quarter, or whatever. For those, because some guys like me, we've started to, I'll just fill a spool halfway up with braid. It's going to slow down your retrieve, you know what I mean? And technically, casting, it's going to require the spool to spool up and more, but sometimes that can actually help you from having overruns and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's not a huge deal to me. I basically look at it as if this is a 34 millimeter spool. I fill it up to there, probably taken off. It's probably a 30, 31 or something millimeter spool, basically. So, I can still throw plenty of line, being a braid that I can throw. I can't throw all the line off, but I can get close. But I can cast regular baits and then cast lighter baits way easier with less line on my spool. Then, of course, these shallow spools, they only, I just fill them roughly up. And they, this you could put 10-pound on and maybe wouldn't need to go all the way up. But you're going to need to fill that baby all the way up with regular braid. So, any other questions? I guess not. I might get a Tatula. You guys wish me luck if I do. I'll order one, order the drag clicker, because I think I'm out. I had one, but I think I robbed it. I don't know. I had a drag clicker. These are for the Steez. I put drag clickers in the Steez. That's for alphas. I thought, oh, here was one. 2018 Tatula. Did I put it on anything? I think I already used this one. Yeah, the clicky part. I think I took this one. I think this is the one I put on the, I adapted it for the Abu Garcia, maybe? I don't know. But I need to order another one. I don't think I have any left. I have like 5 or 6 of mine ordered just in the last couple years. Need to order more. They're 12 to 15 bucks on AliExpress. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Any questions, drop them in the comments below. Stay tuned to see what I think. I definitely am going to be putting a shootout between this, probably these, and then kind of see how light this thing will throw at some point, and then maybe show you guys what it looks like. Or you guys want to see what it looks like right now? Here's what I'm planning on putting it on, and then I'm definitely ending this video. I'll just give you a quick little. So the blade, if you guys don't know, this is my favorite chatterbait rod. So the blade, and it's always upside. F5 68X. This is a very light but capable. It's like as light as you would want to go for like the 1/2 ounce, the 3/8 chatterbaits, and still feel like you got enough power for the hook sets, but it's forgiving enough. If you guys can make that out. But I'm going to definitely either order and cut them, or I may just rob the cork knobs off this. I don't think I'm going to change the handle. I think I'll keep it all dark looking unless I go crazy and I put a gold drag star and a gold thing like this on that. But I don't think I'm going to do all that. I would, if I could find the color, that whatever color that is, that's kind of a coppery goldish color. If I could find some pieces like that, which this one, where's it at? I know, I'm going to end this video. That one, I'll probably order it because it comes close, and I may put one of those on this, and then I do have, or I can get more, which one like this, that's on the Zillion. I may put a drag star like that on it, and then with cork knobs. Let me turn it the other way so you guys can. Whoa, whoa, look out. Easy now. You guys can take a gander at that way. It definitely has a, like, it's going to feel good. So the way I palm is like this, basically. So it's going to fit my hand very good. It's gonna feel good. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna love it. I'm almost 85. I'm about 85%. I'm gonna like it 100%. But anyway, it's just money. We just threw money at it. If we don't like it, we'll throw it somewhere where we can get more money back. I don't really, I don't know. You guys know the specs. There's probably somewhere tells you how much they weigh compared to these. But yeah, as of right now, this is still the Steez to have, in my opinion. We'll have to see what it does out fishing it, working it. These are still the ones. You're still the one. You guys know what the song I'm talking about? I need to go listen to that song. That just hit me. I don't know. I just random stuff sometimes just hits me. I need to go look up that song and listen to it. You guys do that. Hit into your little chat GTP or your Grok or whatever and say, play the song, You're Still the One, and listen to that song. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm out. And yeah, I haven't even had any Fireball tonight. This is just Diet Coke with 2 pieces of hard cinnamon candy to trick my brain into thinking I'm drinking Fireball. Because I like the taste of cinnamon Coke now way better. Diet Coke, way better than I do regular Coke or Diet Coke. See you guys later.